Who was Bloody Bill Anderson? He was one of the most infamous and deadly figures during the American Civil War, known as a ruthless guerrilla leader for the Confederate Army. He fought in many battles and brutally killed hundreds of people. Still often talked about today, his legacy will stay alive. This documentary video will explain his early life, time in the Civil War, and his death. Anderson was born in Hopkins County, Kentucky, with the given name William T. Anderson. He would only later gain the nickname Bloody Bill after he became well known as a brutal guerrilla leader. His family consisted of 9 people, with William being the oldest son. When he was a child, his family moved to Huntsville, Missouri. His father then got a job on a nearby farm, and his family became well respected across the town. In 1857, the family relocated again to Kansas and settled near Council Grove. The Andersons did not own any slaves, but they were very pro-slavery, even befriending a local pro-slavery judge, I.A. Baker. The family had even experienced the Bleeding Kansas conflict over slavery from 1854 to 1859. Although they only went through the war for 2 or 3 years, they certainly felt the effects of the deadly war. Bloody Bill lived a mostly peaceful early life, but this would soon change because the Civil War was soon to come. In 1860, Anderson had become a property owner and had gone into the freight shipping business with his father and began horse trading. In 1861, the Civil War started, and there was an increased demand in horses. So he began to steal horses and escorted wagon trains to traffic them along the Santa Fe Trail. In late 1861, Anderson began to think of what fun the war could be, and he joined an anti-slavery, pro-union band of guerrillas known as Jayhawkers. After this, he quickly switched sides and joined a band of pro-Confederate bushwhackers. Groups like these were more interested in robbery, looting, and personal gain rather than advancement in political cause. He and his group killed and robbed lots of people, smiling, laughing, and enjoying torturing lives. In 1862, Anderson's father was killed in a dispute. He and his brother Jim gunned down the killer. Because of this, he would later move back to western Missouri and form a new band of guerrillas, even recruiting other historical figures in his group such as Jesse and Frank James. Creating a notorious group like this did bring lots of suspicion to his family, as well as another group of guerrillas led by William Quantrill, who often worked together with Bloody Bill. General Thomas Ewing, a Union commander along the border, began to arrest family members of groups such as these two. He arrested several of the wives and sisters of Quantrill's band and 3 of the sisters of Anderson. These people who were arrested were imprisoned in a temporary Union jail in Kansas City, Missouri. On August 14, 1863, the structure collapsed, killing one of Anderson's sisters as well as several of the other women from Quantrill's group. Quantrill and Anderson assembled over 450 men to get revenge on the abolitionist community of Lawrence, Kansas, on August 21st. The group killed over 200 residents, looted, and burned most of the ground to ashes. Anderson killed over 15 people that day. Anderson and many of his men killed the residents with excessive brutality, cutting off heads, scalping civilians, and purposely giving people long and painful deaths, just for the fun of it. While Unionist retaliation increased, many of William and Anderson's men headed for Texas. In the spring of 1864, Anderson moved back to Missouri, leaving Quantrill behind. Quickly after Anderson returned back to Missouri, he and his men disguised themselves as Union soldiers and staged a series of raids where they ambushed enemy troops. Sometimes they would even just kill innocent civilians by surprise and scalp them. Because of this, Anderson reached his peak in infamy, becoming the most notorious guerrilla in Missouri and gaining the nickname Bloody Bill Anderson. Anderson did most of his raids in the northwest and central Missouri. On September 27, 1864, he had a raid on Centralia, robbing Unionist Congressman James S. Collins, capturing a Union passenger train, and murdered 22 Union soldiers who had even already surrendered. After this, Anderson and his men were being heavily pursued by the 39th Missouri Volunteer Union Infantry. After a skirmish later that day, known as the Battle of Centralia, Bloody Bill's group later ambushed and outgunned the Unionist pursuers. He and his men then mutilated and tortured the Federal survivors of the aftermath. This became known as the Centralia Massacre. After the Centralia Massacre, Anderson was still being pursued by Union authorities. On his way to escape them, he looted and robbed Union sympathizers and even raped several people. Around 1 month later, Lieutenant Colonel Samuel P. Cox and his Union forces caught up with Anderson and his 150 men. A quick battle ensued, and Bloody Bill was shot in the head, killing him instantly.